Hi there and welcome back. For those of you that have been off working diligently on the pack, if you're watching the later recording and you've unpaused, then welcome back to you too. Let's move that away. Welcome. Hopefully you've had a chance to go through that, and in the chat rooms that those in taking part live would have discussed some of the ideas and made notes on those. So what I want to do next is, if you haven't had a chance, can I just add that if you want to private message me and you want some tips on even the actual aesthetics of the board that to create, then please do not hesitate to contact me. I'd be happy to help with any of that. Or if you'd like to join me on later workshops, obviously we can do it when we can do it in person, because I would have a chance to go around individually with you and on a one-to-one basis and help you out with any of those questions. And obviously we've not really been able to do that or had the chance for the time limitations. But because normally the workshop's around 3 hours. But what I want to do now is our own meditation on coherence. So bearing in mind some of the images that you might have picked for your board and how those images relate to a global community and how we can maybe bring those into being, I want to focus now on some of those images. So as I asked some of you to pop those in the chat box for me, I've had a little read through, and some of the things that I personally, images that had come up were spiritual and leaders and inspirational sources I've popped up on my board, people who have influence and are inspiring others to have that same influence. So for me personally, that's people like Deepak Chopra, Oprah, Elizabeth Peru, Gabby Bernstein, Bob Proctor, Greg Barden, the HeartMath Institute, Mind Valley, and all of their amazing authors that they are connected, like the little people start of all of that, so that people are parenting in a different way, looking at education in a different way. So I've got images coming through of all those people and how schooling in itself and education in particular, as a mum, this is something that's important to me, can look differently and be guided through a more conscious way of educating ourselves, and a return and a connection to our heart space. So rather than having authorities dictating, a kind of return to us having to be self-reliant more, self-responsible, and seeing over the next 10 years or so changings and integrations, which I'm not by any means saying this is something that could be easy. I'm trying to see that people have a deeper understanding of how communities can work on a different scale when we take it back to the communities, and therefore there are people that are inspired. So seeing relevant people in governments and local governments taking on a new way of doing things, and globally there being more cooperation and obviously that heart coherence going on within businesses. They're more aware of well-being and what it is to lead a more holistic style of lifestyle or work. So the importance of our environment and how the economy maybe works or can work differently, a team way of looking at things, or a more local based way of looking things, which will have an impact on travel and tourism, and how our local versus global was what I mentioned, and how as humans we are a human race, as opposed to we are this country, we are that country, that disjointedness. This is for us, this is the way we do things, this is, but having an understanding and a more compassionate view of things, allowing people to, which I think is more and more likely, but in a greater scale, have their own faith and practice their own ways of belief. For example, with religion, people have not been able to go to churches, but there is definitely been that need and that connection on a more spiritual basis, not saying that it has to be with one particular style of religion, but having an understanding that each religion has its own merits and own values, and having a faith or in something that's more than, that's greater than us as a community and globally, being more compassionate natured. So a sense of spirituality as opposed to the older regimes. I think we've all, and I want to just mention the whole side of anger, and I'm not saying that there has been lots that has happened that need to people to be accountable, but that fighting against, and the focus that we mentioned before in part one, to be more of a forgiving, so that we can move on. There's that expression that anger hurts us, because once someone has wronged us, whether we're justified or not, that anger affects us and that emotion affects us. And when you scientifically know that it's physically, biologically affecting you, having a physical effect on your having a physical effect on your body, then you're more aware of the fact that you don't want to stay in that place. So moving past and having that sense of letting go and moving on, which for some of us is not an easy thing to do, and I want to acknowledge for that. So, and a sense of more female, the divine feminine coming back, the more balance and the nurturing and the need for that to come about in our society in a more balanced way, as well as how that comes out. So being more loving, being more compassionate, nurturing ourselves as well as others and our communities, and keeping, and that nature that comes in the mothering way, but not necessarily women in such, but men having those qualities coming out in them as well, and need to have that, their feminine side. And I don't mean in that or in a camp way, I mean in the fact that they're being more nurturing to themselves, and these aspects of what we consider on the opposite to the masculine as being more hard, and the mind and all of those things, but having the balance of both those things, and understanding that we need both in our society as well, within our governments as well, within our local communities, and how we are interacting within our employment and in our jobs, and in the way we tackle things. For a long time it's been seen as like, to be successful you've got to be hard, you've got to be a certain mindset to get ahead. And actually I think that is the turning point of the visualizing that we are no needing to do that actually women, I know that I'm part of lots of wonderful communities of females that are inspiring, and they're uplifting, and they're connecting and working together in groups. And I think there's going to be more of that. So that's what I'm seeing and visualizing, those images of that group coming together, inspiring other people, helping other people where you can. Like, I can do this. This is what I have. This is the talent I have. How can I help you? How can you help me? And that sharing of information, and still being able to have the economics behind that, and feeling justified. Well, this is a service, and feeling and taking it again back to ourselves. So the reconnection. So those are all things that had popped up when I was reading through It's to in the chat box, and the images that I myself have been seeing and intuiting. So bear those in mind. The images that you have, even the dietary, healthier lifestyle. I mean, I myself am vegan, and I'm not saying that everyone else should be vegan either, but I think that looking at a more compassionate way of what we have, and having an awareness of where things come from and what we're eating, and those when you, maybe if you're a meat eater, for example, I do the same thing with vegetables, but when I'm preparing a meal, I'm in a place of gratitude and I'm having an appreciation of that. So I have a little mantra, prayer, if you want to call it that, or a little thing that I say to connect with me. Thank you for giving your life to nourish me and to nourish my family, like someone would liken to saying grace before the food. All of these things that we've had in our culture over time and tradition that have lost their meaning, bringing back the meaning behind why we do these things, that maybe rituals from certain religious backgrounds, why they were there in the first place, but also having now an understanding of the science of what that does to us and why, and how it can work. Dr. James Hamilton, how our physiology, if I can get that right, we are meant to, as a human race, be more compassionate. Our arteries flood with oxytocin when we perform an act of kindness. Now, the only other time, and this is where the whole Divine Feminine comes in for me, is when you're breastfeeding and those endorphins and the oxytocin, you flood your body with that. That's the only other time. So as a man, you can't do that if you're not lactating and obviously feeding, but you can have that effect when you perform an act of kindness and an act of compassion towards other beings. And I highly recommend his book as well. So all these wonderful people. So I will try and remember to put them all, like I had them in the chat box, in the links wherever the videos go. So if not, I would recommend Googling. So for our meditation, you've got all of those images. If you haven't, I've given you some ideas for you to be visualizing, and I will guide you through. So we'll start off by breathing. That breath alone, knowing that it just comes, is something to be grateful for. Breathing in and breathing out. As I said before in our little mini meditation, imagine the sound of your breath like the waves of the shore, and that you're standing on a sandy beach. Visualize yourself standing somewhere. It could be a Scottish Highland loch with rocks beneath you. It could be a beautiful, tranquil Caribbean sea, or an ocean with the big waves. But imagine the waves and that in and out, and that rhythm as you feel your breath as you're breathing in and out. Bringing in those wonderful images of our world behind us. And stay there for a moment. Whatever sounds are around you in the room, hone in on them so that you steady your focus and ground yourself into that anchor of this moment right now in your breath. The subtle sounds, the flow of your breath, and becoming aware of your body and its movements, where the breath is coming from, breathing from your stomach, extending that breath for longer, pausing for just a second before you exhale. With your breath and your inhale, what can you smell around you? Can you smell any scents within the room? And as you're breathing out, are you aware of any taste? Or just the tongue in your mouth? And I want you to just relax it. Just feel a tongue just to sit behind your front two teeth. So it's a relaxed position. Continue with that breath for me as we go into the creative visualization. I'm going to take you on a little journey, and much as we did in our Earth meditation for Earth Day, we're going to go and do a little time traveling. So keep your eyes closed for me and breathe. Feel the feet and your toes, whether they're in shoes or barefoot. Imagine that beach for me again, and that's your anchor. This is your reset. If you feel uncertain at any time, just bring yourself back to the breath and back to this moment. At any time you can do that. But I want you to start to imagine yourself feeling lighter. There is you that's in this room wherever you are. And there is, as you close your eyes, there's you that has this awareness of you standing on this beach. And we're going to go and dial it up another level. And there's an other you, the ethereal you, the energetic you, that's going to rise up and start to feel lighter. And at any time you need to, you can go back. But as you do this, I want you to look up. Look up for me with your eyes in your head as if you're looking up into the sky. And see a vastness of a blue colour. Crystalline blue, so clear. And then you can see in that clear blue sky one cloud, misty cloud just above your head. I want you to feel like you're becoming part of that cloud. So as you're looking up, I want you to feel like you're becoming part of that cloud, merging with the mist, lighter inside. And we're going to go forward in time for about 5-6 months ahead to begin with. And we're floating forward in that timeless feeling light and airy and around us. Feeling light and airy and around us. And we're going to settle back down onto a beach, but in the not so distant future, and become aware of the changes in us and the changes in our world. And I want you to be aware of a radio or a TV, somewhere where you can see streaming, the information coming to you, filtering through from everything that's happened over the last 5-6 months, and the new things and the new changes that have happened because of it. I want you to see newsreels coming up, see feeds on social media, videos, blogs, information flowing to you. But this information contains some amazing stuff, and the emotion that it's making you feel is a sense of joy and thankfulness, respect, some sadness that it had to be this, that it had to take what has happened for us to start to move about and bring about these changes, but a sense of gratitude that they are happening. See the images like ones on Google Earth, of the total transformation and reversal of our environmental issues that had and become so important, starting to turn around. The different laws and legislation that are now coming into pass. The newfound respect for both healthcare workers, but all of the key workers. No longer will someone, when they're maybe feeling stressed on a bad day, be rude to the lady at the checkout. They see them in a whole other light. In fact, people's compassion for each other is one of the biggest transformations. For the schools and the teachers and the national health. But not just here in the UK where I am, across the globe. There's a new level of understanding and a new passion for people to want the change to happen. Places where there have been social unrest, even they see the global scale of how everyone has been affected. It feels as though we're on a new path, a new timeline. Like the curse has become a blessing. That amazing creative minds are coming up with amazing ideas, totally unexpected, but what we need. Different forms of transport, different ways of being. Things are starting, and we're sowing this seed now with our thoughts and our focus in all the hearts around the world and the globe that are doing the same thing. We stay true, but I want you also to spend a moment in forgiveness. For with hindsight, all is always easy. Forgiveness for regimes and maybe practices and things that were from before that did not work. Rather than pushing against, to be in a place of forgiveness and compassion for those that are going through their own learning journeys. Feeling from ourselves, I forgive you for not being what my expectation of you was. I set you free, and in so doing, set myself free. I let go of any anger and resentment, any sadness. Not forgetting, but clearing and transmuting across all time and space. I see this vision that I have created here today on my board and in my mind. I see that it can be. And I take it into my heart with my next breath as I float back through time, retaining anything that I need to know to guide me to this space, to this future. Settling back down on that beach. I want you to see something down in your hand that's heavy. A stone maybe, a rock, a piece of wood. It doesn't matter. It's just a visual representation. It represents all of the fear and sadness, all of the anger and frustration for anything that has happened or that could possibly happen in the next 5 months. And I want you to remember that you have the power to pick that emotion up and put that down whenever you are holding it and you find yourself holding it in a place of anger, in a place of sadness, frustration, any of those emotions. That's fine. Be compassionate to yourself. But remember, you can put it down. You don't have to hold on. It weighs you down. And then whenever you feel yourself holding it, you can do that in the moment. Just from remembering and centering yourself back into a coherent heart state of love. And you can do that by remembering this time and this space in this moment that you can connect to whenever you need to. Just breathe. Placing it down in the shallow part of the waves. Allowing that faith and love to wash against the stone. Remembering the power of that over time, carving great canyons in our world. Healing any losses, any sadness, honouring those people, by how we move forward as a human race. Clearing and transmuting and not forgetting. Rising up to a different frequency. Living on a higher frequency and intention in our daily life. Breathe in for me. Breathe out. I want you to wiggle your toes, becoming aware of back into the body and the you in the room. And before you open your eyes, if you haven't already, then please close them again. I want you to do your own self-healing. I want you to imagine that you are the stone for the moment. And I want you to feel a majorly powerful waterfall flowing in through the top of your head, washing down over you like a jet stream. Sometimes that feels hard on the back, almost massaging you, but internally wiping out any beliefs and behaviors that do not serve you. I want you to feel that sensation of being cleansed and cleared and surrendering to that which comes from a higher power, your spiritual connection, whether that be with God, the universe, your inner being, your soul, or purely just that science of that ethereal energy that surrounds us. Every part of your being feeling lighter from the inside out. Thank you. Thank you to every cell. Feel a rod down the back of you. Every meridian point or chakra lighting up in the colourful sense that they should be, swirling. Any feeling of aches and pains, breathe into it. I want you to shrug your shoulders around. Do this while you're sitting. Just really come back into your body. Open your eyes when you're ready and only when you're ready. Wiggling your toes and your fingers, getting some movement back into that stillness that we've been in. And that breath, oxygenating every part of your body, flooding you and your body with that blood, oxygenating it. Deep breaths for me. Maybe lifting your arms up in prayer position. Thank you. Thank you to all that joined me and that took part, and for all of you that view this whenever you're viewing it. May it help you and give you insight into your own intuition and connecting to your own creative self, which is what I teach people to do. Thank you again. My love and blessings. Thank you for joining us, those of you with the workshop. If you're just viewing this meditation, which I intend to put up on YouTube for those that want to do this, and if you'd like to take part, I have the vision board packs that we did tonight in tonight's global vision board global retreat and vision board world vision board. I'm not charging for these. all I ask is that you donate in a spirit of giving towards anything that can help any of the causes that you've at them before. Obviously my other packs I have out there, but for the time being, with what's going on, these packs will remain free. Okay, thank you, and thank you for your time. Love and blessings, and good night or good day wherever you are in the world.